I wasn't supposed to be anywhere near Willow Creek that morning. I had driven in only because sleep had refused to come, a habit I'd developed over the years as I rebuilt myself brick by brick from the rubble of who I used to be. So I took the long route through town, sipping bitter gas station coffee, trying to shake off the memories that still clung to me like static. Memories of betrayal, accusations, lies crafted by people who knew exactly where to cut to make the deepest wounds. But nothing could have prepared me for the moment I stepped into the polished lobby of Harper and Sloan Industries and saw my son, my gentle, idealistic, too soft for his own good son, scrubbing toilets on his first day. He didn't see me at first. He was leaning over a stall with a brush in one hand, a bucket in the other, trying hard not to let tears fall. His shoulders stiffened every time someone walked in, and nearby stood Charles Sloan, my son's father-in-law. A man who built his empire on the illusion of integrity. A man who smiled like he earned oxygen and the rest of us borrowed it. "This idiot isn't good for anything else," Charles said, sipping his coffee, voice loud enough for every employee in the hallway to hear. My daughter-in-law, Emily, smirked, arms folded, eyes gleaming with a quiet cruelty I'd ignored for too long. My son looked like he was shrinking, smaller, younger, breakable. And something inside me, something that had been sleeping for years, woke up, sharp and steady. I didn't say a word, not then. I just walked out, calm, silent, focused. Then I made one phone call. The phone call that would open the final chapter of a story that began years before my son ever met the Sloans. A story that had nearly destroyed me. A story they had unknowingly stepped into the center of. My son didn't know who I truly was. Not anymore. He knew the surface version, the one who moved states, changed his name, avoided attention. But he didn't know the forces that had pushed me into the shadows, or the lies that had painted me as a criminal, a cheat, a fraud. He didn't know that I had spent a decade rebuilding from ashes created by the same kind of powerful, smiling men who stood over him that morning. And he didn't know that I had already begun returning from that exile, quietly, strategically, smarter. But fate always likes dramatic timing. My return collided with his humiliation. And the result was unavoidable. It started long before this, though. Back when I was still Daniel Reed, a name people trusted. I was chief operations officer at Harlaudak, climbing toward the top until the conspiracy hit. A fake financial leak, a staged transaction, evidence planted on my systems. Suddenly the man who trained half the executive team became the villain in their narrative. My partner back then, my wife at the time, didn't stand by me. She sided with them. The people who had orchestrated the entire thing were her friends. People she met at charity events. People with power and motives deeper than I could see then. By the time I figured out the truth, it was too late. My reputation was ruined. My marriage dead. My career ashes. I left. I rebuilt. Quietly. Slowly. But I didn't forget. And I didn't forgive. When I changed my name to David Lane, I also changed my strategy. I founded a private consulting firm that helped companies in crisis, reputation collapses, data breaches, hostile takeovers. It made me successful again, but under the radar. And eventually, one of my clients, one who admired my work, invited me to partner in something bigger, something global, something powerful enough that my advice could alter industries. The person on the other end of the call that morning, my only true confidant in this new life, was that same partner. Her name was Claire Alden, and though neither of us ever said the word aloud, there was something simmering under every quiet conversation we had shared for years. Something dangerous, something comforting, something I avoided because she reminded me of the life I lost, and because I feared trusting anyone again. Claire answered on the second ring. "David, it's early. Are you all right?" Her voice always carried gentleness wrapped in steel, the kind of voice that felt safe to fall into and dangerous to rely on. "I'm cashing in that favor," I said. "The big one." She inhaled sharply. "This isn't like you. What's going on?" I told her every detail, every humiliation, every tear in my son's eyes. There was silence on her end for a long time. Then, "Send me the company name." Harper and Sloan Industries. Another pause, a heavier one. "David," she said softly, You might want to sit down. My stomach tightened. Why? Because that name is connected to the people who ruined your life. That moment felt like the wind was knocked from my lungs. The Sloanes. I knew the name from whispers, from the peripheral edges of a conspiracy I had never fully unraveled. But I had never connected them directly, and now they had my son under their thumb. I'll handle it, Claire said, her voice cold now calculated. But David, you need to be ready. Exposing the Sloanes will do more than embarrass them. It will unravel half of Willow Creek's old money alliances. I've been ready for 10 years. Then let's bring them down. But the story didn't end there. Because fate enjoys complications, because the deeper I sank into exposing the Sloanes, the audits, the confidential files, the testimonies from ex-employees, the more I uncovered that their corruption extended into real estate fraud, bribery, and staged bankruptcies. And threaded through those files was another name. Alden. Claire's family. Her father, specifically, a former partner of the Sloanes. One who had withdrawn quietly before things collapsed. One whose withdrawal may have implicated him in enough peripheral crimes to destroy him if this ever went public. So suddenly, I wasn't fighting only for justice. I was fighting the impossible balance between truth and love, and the more I worked with Claire late into the night, the more I saw her differently. She wasn't polished perfection. She was layered, wounded, carrying guilt she never spoke of, trying to fix the world one cautious act at a time. She asked about my son. She remembered his birthday. She sent him a book on leadership without mentioning it was from her. She cared, deeply, and slowly, quietly, dangerously, I found myself caring back. But the closer we grew, the more the truth haunted me. The documents I held could pull her father into the flames along with the Sloanes. And she didn't know. Not yet. Meanwhile, my son's situation worsened. His father-in-law assigned him demeaning tasks daily, making him pick up trash, carry heavy boxes alone, clean offices. My daughter-in-law Emily seemed to enjoy watching him shrink. My son never complained, but I saw the light dimming inside him. One evening, he sat across from me at a diner, hands shaking over a plate of cold pancakes. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, he whispered. Emily says I embarrass her father, that I'm useless, that I have to earn respect. You don't owe them a damn thing, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Dad, I don't want to fail again, and I recognize that fear, because it had been my fear once too. The night I realized I needed the truth more than revenge was the night Claire came to my home office unannounced. She'd flown in without telling me, stood in my doorway, wind-tousled hair, eyes flickering with worry. You've been distant, she said softly. I've been busy, that's not the reason. She stepped closer. Talk to me, David. And for the first time in years I cracked. I told her everything. The betrayal, the evidence, the connection to her father, the risk. Claire didn't flinch. She swayed slightly, yes, pain flickering across her face, but she didn't look away. My father made terrible choices, she whispered, but he spent his last years trying to undo them. That's why he backed out of the Sloane deals. Why he left the industry. He tried, David. He really tried. He might get dragged in with them. I know. Her voice trembled. And if he does, then that's the cost of truth. Something in me locked into place in that moment. She wasn't choosing the Sloanes. She wasn't choosing her father. She was choosing integrity, and she was choosing me. The takedown began quietly, strategically, not with public accusations or dramatic confrontations, but with well-placed audits, anonymous tips, legal inquiries. Enough to force the board of Harper and Sloane Industries to panic. Enough to put Charles Sloane under investigation. Enough to make Emily reconsider her place in a collapsing empire. But the moment everything snapped was the board meeting 2 weeks later, one I attended under my real name. My true name, Daniel Reed. When I walked into that glass conference room, my son's jaw dropped. Emily's face drained of color. Charles sputtered like someone had unplugged him. Daniel Reed. He whispered, "You're supposed to be gone." I finished. Ruined? Forgotten? He stiffened. I set the folder on the table. This contains every fraudulent transaction you've authorized over the last 8 years. He reached for it, furious. You think you scare me? I don't need to scare you, I replied. The federal investigation will do that. Panic flickered in his eyes. My son stared between us. Dad, what's happening? Before I could answer, Emily spat. Your father is a criminal. He ruined my family's business. No, I said quietly. Your family ruined mine. But I'm not here for revenge. I looked at my son, at the boy who had scrubbed toilets while these people laughed. I'm here for justice. And to tell the truth, the board members flipped through the documents. Murmurs spread. Someone whispered RICO violations. Another said embezzlement. Another insider trading. Charles knew it was over. But I wasn't finished. I turned to my son. You deserve better. Not just from them, I nodded toward the Sloanes, but from your marriage. My son looked at Emily. She didn't deny anything. She simply crossed her arms, cold and dismissive, and said, if he can't handle a little pressure, that's on him. My son's heart broke in that moment. I saw it. But I also saw something else. Strength. I'm done, my son whispered. Emily, I'm done with all of this. She rolled her eyes. Good, go fail somewhere else. He didn't cry this time. He stood tall, and I felt something in me, something buried under years of fear and caution, rise again. Later that day, after the board removed Charles from his position and federal agents escorted him out, I drove to a quiet overlook on Willow Creek's outskirts. Claire was waiting there, leaning against her car, watching the water shimmer in the fading sunlight. You did it, she said softly. We did it. She stepped closer. Your son? She asked. He'll be all right, I murmured. He's stronger than I ever realized. And you? I looked at her, at the woman who had helped me rebuild, who had stood beside me through the darkest truth, even when it threatened her own world. For the first time in a long time, I said, I think I'm ready to stop running. She smiled, a small, fragile, hopeful smile. Then maybe, she whispered, you're ready for more. I didn't kiss her. Not then. Not yet. Slow burns deserve patience. Instead, I reached for her hand, and she didn't pull away. Behind us, Willow Creek glowed in the early dusk quiet, unaware that its illusions of power had shifted forever. Ahead of us, the road stretched open, a future built not on revenge, but on truth, on healing, on the possibility of love, slow and steady and earned. And for the first time in years, I felt like I finally had a home to walk toward.